Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode. So glad you're here. Terry, it's been a heck of a weekend for me, but we have an amazing guest that I want to get to straight off. Who do we got this week?
We got Selena Buongiorno. I think that's how you say her name. I'm going to let her say it so we can hear it. She is the host of MS Wired podcast, another podcaster for awareness. So she runs in the same avenue as us. She also uses the same program. Like nobody understands what I'm saying, but we're going to give each other tips and tricks.
All right, let's get her in the show and get to it.
Hi, that was fast.
How are you? Oh,
Good.
I was on time. I know. I hate when I sign on like 15 minutes early and someone's there.
No, you're great. Usually I stop recording and then I hit record, but you know how this program works. I can edit all this stuff out anyway. Nice to meet you. I see you all the time. I feel like I know you already.
I know.
So weird. Okay, so Nick, this is Selena, Nick.
Nice to meet you.
Selena, pleasure. I'm glad you're with us today. I'm super excited to hear about what... First of all, you need to do me a favor and explain to Terry your last name because he botched it before you came into the...
It's Buongiorno.
What did I say? I said it like that.
Yeah.
Did I not?
Not as scary as it looks. It's good day in Italian.
No, I had to listen to one of your episodes and I heard you say... No, I heard you on the news when you were on the news.
Yeah.
Yes, and I heard you. I'm like, okay, that's how you say it. So I'm pretty sure I said it. Buongiorno.
Yes, you did awesome. It was confusing. We went to Italy last year for the first time, and every time we checked in, they're like, oh, good day. What's your last name? I'm like, no, that is. Everywhere we went.
I was like, is it wrong for me to say it with an accent?
Live it up.
So Terry was telling me that you are a woman of many avenues in the MS space.
Yes.
First of all, you're one of us. You're a part of the family. You have the mark. You're an MS warrior.
Or 1 in a million.
How long have you been diagnosed?
I got diagnosed in December of 2020.
2020. So on top of the entire world falling apart in the middle of the pandemic, it was like, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
All of those aches and pains that you can't describe or all the symptoms that you might have been having. Here's why.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So it really ended a great year with a bang.
What was the first symptom? What got you on the road?
So I started having some numbness and tingling in my hands, but I had lifted something heavy a couple days prior. So my background's in orthopedics, and I'm like, oh, I probably just improperly lifted, like I tell patients not to do. And so I treated it with my orthopedic background. I did scans, I did steroids, I did everything, and it wasn't letting up. Then I started to notice every time I looked down, I had like a shooting zinger in my feet, which is Lermit's sign. So, people were like, well, just don't look down. Oh, okay, thank you for the medical advice. So the hands got to the point, though, where I couldn't really do anything anymore. Like, it was just so painful. Like, I felt like I had been sanding in the garage for hours and I had nothing left on my fingertips. It was like raw. And even just shampooing my hair in the shower, it was like, something's wrong. And then I couldn't put my daughter's hair in a ponytail. And I'm like, all right, I got to do something about this. So after a couple months, I had one of the docs at my office order an MRI of my neck, thinking that I had a herniated disc. And then we had lesions on the spine. So.
And then from there, it was all downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Listen, every time, because you talk to a lot of people as well, and you hear their stories and stuff like that. So when you hear their story, doesn't that bring you back to your own story?
Yeah.
Because every time I smile, I'm smiling because I'm like, preach, please
Been
let
there.
everyone know. Because I'm that too. And I had that too. Like, we never talked about it. Like when I used to put my head down, I had that. Everyone knows what that's called. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Lermit's sign. Yeah.
And and the feet. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're saying it. Because it feels like therapy. Every time someone brings it up, I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing I go through. Thank God you're saying something about it.
Yeah. No, it's important. And I think, too, a lot of people with MS, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of us put the symptom to another cause. Like for me, I'm like, oh, well, I lifted something or I worked out hard. And I've heard people say, well, my feet are numb, but I wear tight shoes. So it's like, I think that's something to get across to people, too, that if you do have something going on, it's still worth a workup. Let your doctor tell you, no, it's your stress or your hormones or, whatever it is, because people just assume that it's whatever the cause they think, but it might be something else. It might not, but it's always better just to work it up.
Yeah, I think the reason why we all do that is because one of the contributing factors is that we all are conditioned to stay busy.
Right.
And
pain or fatigue or blurry eyes or whatever it is, as long as you think you can keep going, you think you should keep going. And it's
Right.
not a big deal, right?
Right.
But I don't want to get your title wrong. You're a PA,
I'm a
right?
PA. Yeah, physician
Okay,
assistant.
great.
But yeah.
The best kind, if you ask me, because
Yeah, thank you.
I've had tremendous success with all of my PAs through. As a matter of fact, I seek them out because
Yeah.
they seem to be
Well,
more
thank you.
dialed in to me.
Yeah.
So, we brush it off because we don't have time.
Right.
And then, compile on top of it other external traditional factors like gender, race. There's like so many layers to healthcare, or in Terry's case, just the sheer wait time that he has to go through to see anybody makes it a barrier to treatment, right? Which in our case is either spinal damage or brain damage, because you just keep these, if these lesions run unchecked, because in Terry's case, like it takes 6 months to see your neurologist, or actually longer in your case, right, Terry?
Yeah, depending on where you are, but yeah.
So,
It was like 2
sometimes
years.
it's just not as, we just interviewed a
I
gentleman,
saw that.
and he was like twice in 12 years. And that's insane to me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's crazy. Yeah.
So it's very layered and nuanced as far as like treatment and navigation and stuff like that. And some people aren't even good self-advocates, which is why we're here doing a lot of talking like that.
And it's funny because we talk about physical symptoms before even acknowledging mental symptoms, because we're like, hey, what symptoms do you have? My leg's weak, oh, this and that. But we don't talk about, we're foggy or whatever depression if you have, but we never talk about that, right?
And the anxiety, which of course, if you had anxiety beforehand like I did, and then you throw in a disease where you can't plan anything, not a great choice for me.
Yeah.
So I think that was hard too when I got diagnosed, because it was just this kind of letting go, because you just have to be okay with not knowing what's next. And that was a hard part for me.
Yeah.
The what if shadows.
Yes.
And I would imagine, as a professional being as busy as the profession is, you have to time. And you said you had a daughter,
I have a daughter and a son, so I had 2 kids.
2 kids, professional life. You got that Google Calendar all color coded, ready to rock, and then all of a sudden MS is like, no, it's all
like
orange
that meme.
now.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Now, in your professional dealings, and I'm not going to get too specific, but what generally would you say are some good tips when someone shows up to a doctor's appointment?
Of course.
That they should be advocating for, that, sometimes you have to pull out of patients that you would be like, man, this would be so much easier if they just came in and.
Right. So just basically tell your provider. I always tell patients to keep a list. I keep a list for my own doctor. So I keep a list for my kid's doctor. I keep a list for my doctor, because when you're there and you're thinking and let's say you get aggravated at the front desk and you're waiting a while, you forget what you have to say. So I always tell my patients to make a list. There's nothing wrong with that. And I keep lists between my neurology office. And of course, if it's something urgent, you can message your doctor on a portal or something. But just basically telling them the symptoms, the key symptoms. If you're having like tingling, fatigue, numbness, and don't let any provider, will say, oh, it's this or it's that. Have them work it up. They can't guess what it is, but they can't really say it. And, like you said, you have to be your own advocate as well. And just getting to a neurologist. A primary care is kind of, a triage. They may be able to start a workup, but just if you really think the patient has it, get them to neurology as soon as possible.
What's the one thing about MS that people don't talk about enough, but you wish they did?
Just the fact that it is an invisible illness. And like I had interviewed someone not too long ago, and he was saying like if he boards a plane early, like the stares that he gets. And, I had a friend one time and he parked in the handicap spot. He doesn't have MS, but somebody made a comment to him and it's like he had a transmetatarsal amputation. So just because he has a shoe on, you can't see that he has, not a foot. And so it's like people are just really quick to judge. And I think with MS and all chronic illness, you just, you can't look at people and judge because you don't know what they're fighting. And a lot of us, like, we all look okay. And so I think just the fact that it's an invisible disease and just being, if someone is parked in a handicap spot, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
This
You
is
just don't know.
If someone's in the handicap stall, this is why I still don't go, hey,
Yes.
hey, because you just don't know. They could be battling cancer too, right?
And maybe they have to
idea.
hold the rail. Like if I'm having a bad day and my knee's not cooperating, and I teach my kids, if you don't have to use the big one, don't use it, but there are times with, but yes. So just basically just that it's an invisible illness. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know what someone's feelings. Just keep your mouth shut and be kind.
Exactly.
Do you know in the UK, I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's special washrooms. You got special keys to these washrooms in the public. Have you guys ever heard of this?
No.
I've heard of this. It's crazy. And I'm like, real, I don't know what parts of the UK, but 100% I've heard this and it's true that in parts of the UK, there's specific. So if you're a handicap, you get these specific keys that you get to use these specific washrooms. It's probably abused, but that's
Right.
pretty cool,
Yeah.
because they're prioritizing
Yes.
our
No, that's
washroom
awesome.
needs.
Yeah. That's cool.
I will fact check that.
Yes. VIP access.
Terry says that you and I have another thing in common is that we've both done work with and for the MS Society.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big advocate there. So I'm a member of the West Palm Beach Community Council, which is like our local community council. So it's kind of an outreach program for newly diagnosed people and just resources and things like that. I have a walk team, I have a bike team, things like that. And then I do a lot of speaking with them as well.
It's wonderful.
So,
I
yeah.
had the opportunity, I guess it's 2 years now, 2 years ago, to go down to DC and be part of that. And
I'm
that was
trying. I
phenomenal.
have a meeting today actually to discuss advocacy with someone. So I just saw yes, I'm
they're a
aspiring for that.
Yeah, wonderful organization. If you get a chance to go, I highly recommend it. You definitely get in front of the exact people that you need to be. Yeah, it was just such a great time. Plus, it's your community. It's our tribe,
Right.
right? So like you're surrounded by 250 people who it's like when you go to a walk or a bike event. Like
Right.
it has that same vibe to
Common
it.
cause. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, my big push is the MSRP and like the league, the legislature and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's kind of like what I like being involved in. As frustrating as it is these days, it feels like you're punching a brick wall, but
Has
somebody's
to be
gotta
done.
someone's gotta punch the wall, right?
Somebody has to do it. Yes.
So you got diagnosed 2020,
Yep.
and then you started your podcast 5 years later.
Yeah. So when I first got diagnosed, I didn't want anybody to know. So I kind of kept it a secret for a year. I didn't want patients to think that I couldn't do my job. And I just, judging, people judge. So I didn't tell anybody. And then about a year later, a friend asked if she could walk with me. And I said, of course. And she's like, can I share it on Facebook? And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And then I saw Rocco's podcast, who owns Rocco's Tacos. I don't know if you saw my interview
Yes.
with him, but I saw, I'm like, wow. I'm like, he raised like $100,000 for research. Like I could do something like that. I could help be part of the solution. And so we shared 10 days before the walk, and then that just took off. And that's how I met the president of the MS Society. That's how I got involved. And so it was just it took off. And when I got diagnosed, there really wasn't a good place to go. Like I didn't really have resources. It was COVID. Everything was shut down. And then I started looking at like forums and Googling, like I tell people not to do. And I'm like, this is not right. Like, this is not the correct information. And I have a medical degree. What if someone doesn't? So I'm like, I really need to put out something just to give people an avenue to know they're not alone and to have reputable resources, because you could put anything on the internet. So that's kind of how I started the podcast and the idea. I had no idea what I'm doing. I still don't. I learn as I go. I Google it. I don't know. I hired some people to teach me some basic things, but I had no idea what I'm doing. How did you guys start it?
We're learning from you.
Yeah, we're going to have to go together. I told him, I'm like, we need a Riverside course.
We had a guest on not too long ago, and they said, don't sweat it because the first 50 episodes are just for you because no one's
good.
watching.
I know. I always say to someone the other day, I'm like, I think I messed up one of the end ones. Hey, but if somebody noticed, they watched till the end.
That's it.
We are winning. Yeah, that's true.
I leave all my mess ups in sometimes. I'm like, I don't care. I'm human.
Terry and I don't know. I kind of feel like
just Terry.
We kind of feel like we're aged at this point because when him and I started, podcasting was still primarily audio.
Yeah.
So our first 2 seasons, there's no video publicly. And then Terry had to drag me into the video space. He was like, no, dude, we got to go. And I'm like, okay. Because I didn't want to because, it's a scary, you're outing yourself to the world. You're saying, hey, this is who I am. You're exposing all of the things. And Terry and I talk at length about, mental health, our struggles, stuff like that. So it's scary to be seen like that. And God bless Terry. Every week I'm like, my terror takes over. My anxiety at some point peaks, and it's like, hey Terry, are you sure we did that okay? And he's like, dude, relax, man. I'm like, okay, thanks for listening.
That's normal.
Yeah,
I guess we all have that.
Yep. But yeah, that's just because it's so scary. But there is a need for qualified persons like yourself to be disseminating the correct information. I mean, luckily, I'm a fact-checking nerd. Like, I don't say anything that I haven't that I can't stand on because I can't remember it. Like if I say something on here and then in 3 weeks somebody's like, "Hey, remember when you said such and such?" No, if I said it, it must be
right. It's true if I said.
But that's my short-term memory with all this going on because my lesions are primarily up here on the left side.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things I don't remember, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting how everyone has such different symptoms, and somebody that I was talking to the other day was like, well, that's why I don't like reading about the disease, because why would I want to know about their journey, because I might not even have that. So she's right. The more you find out, the deeper it gets.
And to that, the more you look into it, I feel there's a portion where every symptom becomes the thing you saw. You're like, oh, that hurts because of this, because I read
Right.
this on Dr. Like when you go to Dr. Google, you have everything all of a
Right.
sudden. But then everything, you get into that groove of, every sniffle is MS.
Right. And that's a good point, too, for medical providers out there, because if a patient comes to you with MS or any autoimmune condition, don't assume whatever they're complaining of that day is from their disease. Because I had a patient who had foot pain, and upon further investigation and questioning, I ordered an x-ray and it was a fracture, whereas she was told, oh, it's your MS or it's your rheumatoid arthritis. No. You still have to work things up just because a patient has a label on them. So I think that's an important role, too. Could it be your MS? Maybe, but maybe it's not. So don't assume.
Yeah, my doctor said, he's like, Nick, you just get normal old people things too. You know
Yeah,
that, right?
that's true. Right.
I was
Right.
like,
You walk into the
thanks.
room and forget why you walked in. That might not be MS.
Right.
Right. So, but yes, so just still work it up as a provider and a patient, because you want to make sure that you're the right cause.
So I'm sorry. The reason why I brought up that you did a podcast like five years after, that's so soon. You're like accepting
Really?
that you have MS. It took me like 10 years. Like, even though I knew I had MS, it took me 10 years to really come out of my shell and be like, all
Right.
right, okay, I have washroom issues. I'm so open right now, but I'm like, yo, 5 years and you're on the podcast talking about your journey and then helping other people with their journey, which I love, because this is what I do. When I moved to this city, I was new. I moved to a new city just because I started fresh in my MS journey in a wheelchair. And then I went to MS Canada and I'm like, hey guys, we need support groups. We need virtual. And then
Right.
I helped facilitate support groups
That's
where I
awesome.
met Nick and stuff like that. Yeah. But I felt like it wasn't enough. I felt like, okay, I have 20, 30 people a week. I need just to let more people know that this is available if you need it.
Right.
It's a tool if you're bored, if you just want to hear somebody complain, laugh, whatever.
Yeah.
But the more, I don't want to say podcasters, but the more there is out there,
Advocates.
the better. Yes, the more advocates for sure. So I love that you're part of the family. We're part of the family.
Yeah, no, me too. And I just thought it was cool to get like other professionals involved or other people just to share their story, and just, the more you know.
For sure.
Yeah, that's one of the hurdles that Terry and I run into from time to time, is when we're looking for guests to be on our show
Right.
in the medical professionals. A lot of people are hesitant because it is a big, like, we appreciate the risk that's involved with someone who has a professional license coming
Right.
on here and saying stuff, because it could potentially have
Right.
ramifications.
And that was a big thing for me too. So, I always tell, it's not medical advice. Like, always speak to your doctor, because we're not seeing you. We don't know all of the facts about your medical history. So it is important too not to take medical advice from any provider or influencer on the internet, for everyone listening. But still, just you can get an idea and, like you said, go research it and then talk with your doctor. So
Yeah. But I fully appreciate it, because, Pennsylvania was where I'm at, and from what I've heard from providers, the malpractice insurance is insane in Pennsylvania. So
geez.
getting someone from PA with your
Right.
degree, with your profession, they're like, nah, they can ask their doc. I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
My number one rule is no suggestions. If you want to tell us what works for you, cool.
Right.
We'll see if it works, but never suggest, because
Right.
I feel like that's a big trigger for everybody. Go to your doctor, let them suggest before.
Right. Just take everything everyone's saying and then see what works for you.
So as a podcaster, who is on your want to get list? Who's like, if I could interview this person? Because we all have our celebrities we want to talk to.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the celebrities too, because with the celebrities too, just becomes more awareness. So you can spread your message faster. So I think the celebrities definitely, but medical providers are good too. I like kind of mixing it up, and I love medical providers. Tomorrow I'm releasing an episode. I just interviewed an OBGYN with MS. So that was a good episode. So I'm putting out her teaser today. So we talked about pregnancy with MS. We talked about IVF. We talked about GLP-1s for weight loss. We talked about low-dose naltrexone. We kind of hit on everything that I could think of related to that. So that will be a fun one out today.
Something
Tomorrow.
we haven't talked about there, Terry, and it's just become prevalent in the last, few years, is the GLP-1 explosion.
Yeah. So I do research as well. And we did a research study trial recently with Alzheimer's. So a lot of it is just reducing inflammation because we know that MS and Parkinson's, I just saw Parkinson's too. They're looking at a gut bacteria for Parkinson's. So all of these revolve around inflammation. So we know that inflammation triggers all of these things. And so we know we try to encourage nothing from a box or a can. When you shop at the grocery store, shopping the outer perimeter, nothing in the center because that's where all the processed stuff is. So,
Yeah. And you know what? That's a good point. A lot of people don't know the science of the layout of your grocery store
right.
is ingrained for you to
Always
spend
tell
money.
patients that. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, unless there's a hurricane, we're in Florida. I'm like, you don't need to go to the center because that's all your boxes and cans. And I know that a lot of people can't get to the store, especially like, elderly or if people just can't get there. So frozen fruits and vegetables are fine. So that's another option too.
It's not even that. Like, it's a full-time job to cook,
I know.
to prepare. Yo, don't laugh, bro.
No, I'm not
It's a
laughing because
full-time
I
job.
know how
I'm
it goes.
lucky I have, like someone that loves to cook, but
too.
it's if you live alone and stuff, it's really
Yeah.
it's a full-time job. And then you have to take your standards down.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of patients tell me like, well, I don't know what to eat. So then it's like, what do you eat? Because if you watch one thing, it tells you this. If you watch something else, it tells you another. So it's like, what do you eat? And then you watch influencers or celebrities and they're like, eat this. Well, yeah, if I had a private chef and someone doing my shopping, I could do that all day. It makes it really easy.
I had a relative who very on in my MS journey was like sending me article after article from celebrities
Gotta
who
love it.
do eat this or do that. And I said, listen, if I had their money, I
Right.
said, you got to understand they have access to stuff we don't because they can afford it.
Right. If somebody made my food and just delivered the plate to my room, I'll eat whatever you put for me. Sure.
Yeah, right. I'll be the healthiest guy you ever
Yeah.
met.
Whatever you tell me to eat, I'll eat it.
Look at this wheelchair that climbs stairs and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of money, dude.
Right. You should
But
take
thank you.
this tea. This tea is a detox tea and it'll cure your MS. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Herbalife back in the day.
Yes.
Have you tried the tea? The tea is where it's at.
Yeah.
That
Right.
was their
So
whole thing was
but
the tea.
everyone has an opinion. I think I saw something you guys talked about too about like, what do you do with unsolicited advice? Because we know we all get it. So
Yeah, unsolicited advice and what was it? Accidental inspiration.
I like that.
Just you being you inspires people, and here you are just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, that is true.
It's inspiration porn. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there's
Yeah. So a question that everyone asks us, how do you prioritize self-care on a bad MS day?
It's hard, but I try to do, even if it's something as small as just like going to Starbucks or just something for me just to kind of take a break for a minute. But Starbucks is a big one for me because it's just something easy I can do. But that's a big one. So just kind of taking a minute going, sometimes I'll go work from Starbucks just to kind of get a change of scenery sometimes or just to get out of my house. Peloton is big for me, exercise. I try to do stuff on there, a lot of multitasking. Instead of sitting at a desk to review a document or anything, I'll go ride 20 miles and get on there so I try to stay active, which helps. We know exercise produces endorphins. So, but if it's a bad pain day and I can't, I go for coffee or nails.
there you go.
So
Nice. Treat
what are
yourself.
yours?
I'm kind of the same way. I'll go to my Tim Hortons, and sometimes I don't
Yeah.
even want a coffee, but I'll just go and because I interact with anybody.
Right. It's the culture. I could make coffee at home. Sure. I have all the syrups. I made like a whole barista corner. I can. I can.
Same here. Same here.
I laugh because my daughter, right just before she moved out, she's in her early 20s now. She had that whole thing too, and she asked me.
Yeah.
He was like, "Can we get a what's that big machine, the Frappuccino machine or whatever, like the
Yeah,
big?"
yeah.
I was like, "No, we're not getting the. Go to the coffee shop. It's right up there." I was
Yeah.
like,
It was funny. We were at book club a few weeks ago and Starbucks redid like their rewards members.
yeah.
And so we were talking about like the rewards and I was like, no, it's awesome. You get 1.7 points per dollar. Like I'm rattling off all these things. And one of the girls is like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. I just read it. And she's like, wait, are you reserve, which is the highest one? I don't even know what that means. And I pulled up my email and I'm like, I guess I am. Maybe I was taking that self-care a little too much. But yeah.
You didn't know I had diamond status?
Yeah. Wow. Must have a
Oh.
lot of bad days.
So Terry, what do you do? You go other than Timmy's. What do you do when it gets tough?
I like editing. This is a
Yeah.
godsend to me, bro. Like,
Yeah.
honestly.
That's what
It
I did
keeps me
before. And
busy.
at Starbucks, took
You
my
can do it anywhere.
AirPods, my computer, and I was like, I can just get a change of scenery and do the editing. I agree.
I'm more of a hippie. I meditate. I ground myself. I have my drums that I play. I have my singing bowls. I have my chakra
I
things.
love that.
I just shut it all down and shut it all out. And
You'll
I
have to
remind
teach me how to do that.
And I'm more than happy to do that.
So I'm an overthinker. I can't sit still.
I actually have a group that I facilitate that not in order to be part of it, but I prefer when people say, I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate. I can't shut my brain down. Because a lot of us think we can't. And a lot of us think that the key to meditation is just doing that. And it's not necessarily. There's ways that you can kind of direct the flow of the river so that it kind of calms down, but the river still keeps moving.
My river's like whitewater rafting.
Yeah. So yeah, we could definitely connect, and I can definitely help with that.
Love that.
I've been doing it. What do you think, Terry? About 5 years now.
Yeah, 5.
I've been doing meditation work since the late 90s when I had a very good teacher in the middle of finals week, shut everything down and said, we're all going to take a break, and this is what we're doing. And for 3 hours, he just did a whole guided meditation, and that changed my I was like,
That's amazing.
you really can. Like, of all the things I learned in high school, the one thing I took with me was meditation, which had
huge.
nothing to do with anything.
But it did. It taught you a life skill. Look at you now.
Yeah.
Teaching others.
Cool.
Yep. And
The one meditation way I know is the breathing way. That's the only way that works for me.
Like box breathing and
box
stuff
breathing,
like that.
triangle
Your belly.
breathing.
Yeah.
And then you get into it, and then before you
Well,
know it,
that's-
you're just not thinking of anything but you're breathing. And then I
Yeah.
learned that's a way of meditation.
Yeah. Well, I guess I do try to do that,
In
or
the
like
now.
the finger tapping, or, like your senses, things like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of techniques. So the breathing is usually where I start
Okay.
when I'm working with somebody. We start there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then it becomes this whole step down. It's kind of like somewhere between, I don't want to say hypnosis, but it's definitely try to lower all of their vitals. The goal is to get the breathing slow, the heart rate slow, and then once you can do that, then it's real easy to meditate, and it's real easy to relax.
Cool.
Because we're survivors. The reason why we're here is because our ancestors tens of thousands of years ago didn't go check out what was in the bush. They ran away from the noises, and all the way through down the ancestral line, that's why we're here. But now we're not afraid of anything, so we make up things to be afraid and anxious.
Yeah. My body didn't get the memo. We're still running from the lion.
That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of that work involved, and it's cool, and I like it because
Well, that's cool.
I get to do it too. I get to
Yeah.
relax all the time.
I used to make fun of anxiety before my MS days. And so whenever someone said they had anxiety, I'd always, in my mind, I wouldn't say this, but I'd be like, drink some water, you'll be fine.
Right.
And now I have, anxiety you don't see, but behind closed doors, I have severe anxiety as well. I'm an overthinker, as I said earlier, too.
Me
So
too.
I
We share
understand.
that.
So when I talk to people, I feel like I just imagine they have the same issue as me. And I always talk to them in a way where I'm trying to calm them down. And I might be over excessively trying to calm people down. If someone says to me, hey, I need to use your washroom, I'm thinking that they need to use it now or they're going to
Right.
pee themselves. So I'm like, yeah, it's over there. I'm like really rushing them, and they're like, it's okay. I just need to use the washroom. I'm like, oh, it's over there. Take your time,
Right.
because I'm an overthinker. I always think, what if, what
And
if, what if?
I think when you get the diagnosis or any diagnosis with a chronic illness, if you're not already, overthinking either gets enhanced or it becomes part of your life, because now every step becomes, is this my last step? Is this the thing
Right.
I'm doing? Like you talked about lifting a heavy object.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden you're like, now if you go to lift a heavy object and it happens again, you're like, shit, did I just spark something that's going to stick with me for the rest of
Right.
my life?
Well, I learned my lesson after those 2 liftings, but I try not to lift stuff now. And knowing your limits, that's another thing that was hard for me to learn too. And I had a neck fusion as well a couple years ago. I got rear-ended at a stoplight, and it ended up I had permanent damage, and so I had to make that decision. So it's like now if I go to get my dog food, I kind of put my pride behind me and I ask for help to the car, whereas before I would haul that bag out and then ice my back when I got home. So it's like I kind of I think you asked too, like what people need to know, like it's okay to ask for help, and then in the beginning, I'm like, do you mind taking the dog food to my car? I had a neck fusion. And then I'm like, why am I explaining myself? Many people get the dog food put in the car.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think just asking for help is okay.
I don't know where I heard it. It must have been on Instagram or something. But the woman said people with disabilities are the only ones who have to explain their existence to other people.
Right. Why?
Why?
Why? And then also, like we talked about overthinking, I always laugh. It's like, what do we imagine? We imagine the worst case scenario. Why is our brain wired that way? No one imagines the positive, like, the best case scenario.
Yeah.
So we automatically run to the worst,
Is that not protecting ourselves, though?
I guess. Talk about hypnosis. I'd like to go the other way.
The lady, I'm just kind of going side topic again, but the lady, National MS Society.
She's the president that I know is Robin. She's the president of South Florida. Robin. There's a lot of them because there's different.
Nunio.
Robin
Her last name
Nunley.
starts with an N.
Yeah, Robin Nunley.
Okay.
That's who I met. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they just did a whole reshuffle, so like all their geographic locations
so
are a
she's
little
still
different.
Florida, but I think it's a different. Yeah. So
Because I talked to someone, and the guy, the gentleman that I used to work with, was just outside of Philly, and now they're out of New York because they cover like most of the Mid Atlantic, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I get it. Everybody's got to shuffle. Everything's got to get shaken up every now and again. So
you're a PA.
Yes.
Where I went up to Nick and I said, yeah, she's from PA as well. And then I'm like, oh, never mind.
I updated it. I added a C on my bio, so it's PAC. I'm like, it's because you're not the first person to say that. So
I Googled that too, just to see
and
what,
then some people don't know what a PA is also. So yeah.
The reason why I, had such admiration is because the PA for my primary 13 years ago, she was the one who was like, no, your doctor isn't. He's like, he wrote a couple of things, but then she was like, no, we need an MRI because I see this. And I was like, okay. So, and that was the thing that sparked it. It's just another set of eyes and another layer. And that's why I'm a big proponent.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yes. No, that's good. But yes, I think they're an asset to healthcare.
Yeah. When I was getting back on the DC stuff, my big fight is, and I wanted to get your opinion, is the PBMs, the pharmacy benefits managers. That's the big fight this year is, obviously affordable healthcare and medications and stuff, but the big push is to try to break up the top-down alignment of the pharmacy benefits managers. So I don't know, as a provider,
tell me more about it, because I don't know a lot about the copay programs or.
The PBMs are the ones who decide which medications, procedures.
So the people who have no medical background that decide the medical fate of the people who went to school or the people living the disease, those people?
Yes.
Yes.
We deal with them a lot.
The ones who are hand selected by the pharmacy to tell you that you can't play in the pharmacy.
Yes, we do a lot of prior authorizations as a provider where you have to basically read your notes to them explaining why you're doing the medical justification. Sometimes they're medical providers as well, but it's a lot of it, we explain to patients, we give you the option of what we feel is best medically, but then it's up to ultimately your insurance company. So that does make treating difficult for sure. So because we all want the treatment, and talk about anxiety as well. When I get my drug covered by the drug company, you're thrilled. But then in my mind, I'm like, well, what if it stops being covered? Well, what if my insurance changes? What if this happens? What if that? What if I don't have access to it? And then you kind of spiral out.
An absolute horror story. About 8 or 9 years ago, I was getting my Tysabri infusion. So I'm at the infusion center, and there are a number of people in this room sitting in their respective chairs. And the staff came up to the guy who was sitting like 2 seats over and informed him that his insurance changed yesterday and that his treatment was no longer covered. So the remaining 2 hours would have to be out of pocket if he wanted to keep going.
I feel like that's their fault. They should have told him when he came in.
I agree.
What did he do?
He got up and left. He's like, I can't afford this. He said, without my insurance. And it wasn't Tysabri. He was on heavier drug than Tysabri. And I was just flabbergasted.
You do bring up a good point too, which I'll throw out here too, just for someone. But research is a great option because research, you get access to treatment for free. So if somebody loses benefits or something like that, they actually get paid to be in these trials. And a lot of them, like one now was looking at like a biosimilar of Ocrevus, like a lot of them are, you're comparing to a medication. So there's no placebo with a neurodegenerative disease. So you're actually getting a medication. So for someone who doesn't have resources, doesn't have that, they can look at research options in their area.
And I get those emails all the time from the MS Society where they're like, hey, research opportunity, hey, trial, so if someone, if you're watching this show, you're listening to it, and you need it, research both, MS Canada or the National MS Society.
Right.
That's where you can get those heads up. They send emails all the time. A lot of them don't apply, but
And people may be scared to go into research. So that's why I'm telling you, it's not scary. And like I said, you get paid for compensation and travel a lot of the times, and you are receiving an FDA approved medication because we have it for this disease. The only time we use placebo really is if we don't have an option, which in MS we do.
Right. Especially if it's, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to get to phase 3 human trials.
Yeah.
Like it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So like when
Lots of
a
checks
drug,
and
when a drug comes on a market, what is it, like 3 to 5 years that it's already been out there
Yeah,
before
so
it?
it's a lot. And so there are lots of checks and balances. You're monitored under a fine-tooth comb. So research is a great option for people without treatment. No one with MS should be untreated for financial reasons. So not with the research options that we have. So
What
Wow.
DMT are you on? Is the
I'm on
big question.
Ocrevus.
Hey, welcome to the club.
So yeah. Yay. And Ocrevus always makes me laugh. I have a pharmacy friend and I always send him a picture every time I get my infusion because you know the bag and it says like special handling care, care, do not touch without gloves. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going in me, and so that always makes me laugh. Like, could they put that sticker on the other side?
That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
that was the joke I had when I was on Tysabri. It was like, caution, do
Right.
not
Do not
handle if
touch, do not
spill. Like if it
breathe your
spills, you got to call the
bag.
hazmat team.
Right.
Like,
Yes,
and I'm
please.
putting,
Just put it in me.
yeah, I'll take it.
So,
Now,
but
was that the
yes.
old DMT that
Yes.
you've been on? Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'm step therapy. So I started,
Okay.
and this is my 5th drug.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I kept having additional lesions or lesion enhancements every 6 months to a year.
Jeez.
So for the first like 5 years, I was getting MRIs every 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the tube. I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's really where I honed my meditation skills.
I could see that there's nothing else to do in there. I
You
just think.
cannot go.
Yeah. Uncontrollably. But yes, so that's another thing too. Every time I go to get an MRI, they're like, any metal on you? I'm like, oh no, this is my MRI outfit. They're like, you're what? I'm like, my MRI outfit. I have multiple sclerosis. I'm like, there's no metal, nothing.
Yeah.
So, but yes. And for women wearing yoga pants, Lululemon brand has copper inside for antibacterial purposes. So you cannot wear that in an MRI machine. So
Good to know.
yeah, so I
Do
have
they
different
know?
yoga pants brands for the MRI day.
She
Hold
wears
on,
the
hold on.
cheap
Do they-
ones.
Yes, from Amazon.
So do they ask you, do you have Lululemon
No, but I'm
pants
just
on?
telling you
No.
guys because I saw an article once, and
Okay.
and now they have these. Well, you guys might not know, but it was funny. The other day I saw when I went for my MRI, it said like check your nail polish, and I'm like, what? And the lady's like,
Why
oh
wouldn't
yeah,
I-
they have magnetic nail polish now that you can like do a design on. I'm like, geez.
That's why they
And
ask.
eyelashes.
Yeah, that's why they ask about tattoos, because
Yeah, fresh
the color-
tattoos.
the color
ink.
black has a lot of ferrous metals in it.
Yeah.
That's because I've talked to some folks, not here on the show, but I know some people who have gotten MRIs and had fresh tattoos, and the pain they described was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because it's literally the metal, the magnet in the MRI is attempting to rip the thing out of your skin. So it's like trying to pull your whole tattoo off at once.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, for the pants.
Back to the pants.
Well, that's because
No,
he was
because-
wearing them.
no,
He needs to
because
know.
They are my
Yeah,
favorite workout
yeah.
pants. I live in them, but I
no,
can't wear
no,
them
but
to
what
an
I'm
MRI.
saying is, do they let people know, hey, we can't,
I'm
those
sure
pants.
that when you stand in front of the thing, they put you like, do you guys get stood in front of like the metal checker before you go in?
No.
Oh, I get
No.
stood in.
I don't stand, okay?
They put you in like front of a machine and it'll beep green or red, and green, you're like, all right, good to go.
Well, that's
Red, they're
because
like, we got to give you a gown.
that's because a lot of people either don't know or embarrassed. Like if they have let's say they have a piercing that they don't necessarily want to share with their provider,
Right.
they will just be like, it's no big deal. Like if
Right.
they can't see it, the genes will protect it. No.
Right.
No,
And as
go
a
watch-
medical provider too, I always ask patients, like, do you have metal in your body? Because when I was there a few weeks ago, this poor woman had to leave for her scan and they were all coming out because she had some implant in her ear and her provider didn't ask. So providers ask if they have any metal in their body from previous surgeries because it wasted the time of the center who could have given the patient another appointment. It wasted the poor woman's time, like all of these things. And I'm just sitting there watching this at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There's like, people don't realize it's not, I mean, it's as safe as it can be.
Right.
I'll just say that. It's not 100% not going to hurt everybody. Like
That's crazy.
that's why they have all these precautions.
Right.
So back to the pants. No, I'm just joking.
If you want to see something cool, our viewers, go on YouTube and search MRI failures or stuff. Like you can watch wheelchairs being pulled across
No,
the
don't
room to
watch
the
that.
MRI.
Jeez.
No.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget. Talk about anxiety. There was one MRI. It was during COVID. And, I wore the mask in the machine. Nobody took the masks off. And there was one, and I got in the machine, and it had like a metal bar.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, and like, they started the scan, and I'm like, is that metal? And then I'm like, no, it would have gone red. If it's metal, it's going to be ripped off my face. Shouldn't it have been ripped off? The scan already started. And like, I'm like, this is what's going through my mind. And I'm like, no, it probably would have been taken off by now. Yeah, the machine's starting. It can't be metal. And like this whole scan. And then at the end, I called my husband. He's like, it's titanium. I'm like, but But it was like, that's all I thought about the whole scan. And they're like, it's over. I'm like, oh, well, it's still
Yep.
on.
Yep. Yeah. Talk
So,
about it. And similarly, it was about 4 or 5 months after I had gotten a tattoo that I was in there. And I'm like, shit, is this going to come off is this going to burn? Is this getting hot? Why is
I
this
know,
getting
that's what I
warm?
think about in there. Did I take my earrings out? Even the top one that I never remember I have? Did I take them all out? I think I did.
I know the tattoo thing. They used to ask like
Maybe
10
you
years
walk
ago. They were
by
like,
something and you don't even notice. Hopefully. That's what we're going
no
to tell
way.
ourselves.
No way. I'm telling you, no way. I hope the Canadian system has it together because I don't go through a metal detector or any of that stuff.
Yeah, they have me stand in front of something and then it gives you a green or red light.
Oh, like what you're at the airport, like a full
Yeah.
body scan? Wow.
Yeah.
No, I've never experienced that. That's
Are you
crazy.
sure they're not just doing it to you?
They could be.
Sure.
I don't know.
No. I'm just,
Like, stick her in the
it
scanner.
would be me before you.
She doesn't
don't
look
worry.
trusting. Put her in there. Empty her pockets. Yeah, I don't know.
So we know we asked about DMTs, no mobility aids, right? Because you're
No.
not at okay.
No.
Okay. Not that it's like, hey, yes, no. We just like to ask.
No,
you know?
my biggest MS symptom that I have is pain. It's numbness and tingling. So I get it in both hands and my right foot. So when it gets bad, it's pretty much neuropathy. And then we talked about earlier about blaming other medical conditions. And like I said, I have nerve damage in my right arm. I have a neck fusion. So then I have to play the game of, do we think it's MS or do we think it's my neck? Or do we think it's the nerve damage? And so I'm always asking my chiro, I'm like, I'll call a medical friend and I'm like, all right, talk me down. What do you think it is? And so a few months ago, I was having what I thought was an MS hug. So like, it was very painful. It was taking my breath away and like I couldn't breathe. I feel like somebody was squeezing me behind. And then I went to my chiro and physical therapy and we were working on like, strengthening all of the muscles there. And we came to the conclusion that it was musculoskeletal, but I think there's also an MS hug component because musculoskeletal, like it would come on so quick and then it's gone so quick. And I said to like, you can't be half pregnant. I love that one. But it's like, it's either musculoskeletal or it's not. So it's like the fact that it was coming on so quick and leaving so quick made me think it was more of like a neurogenic pain. So I think I was having both. So then I had to learn how to treat them because they're treated kind of the same, kind of different. So one you're stretching out, one you're just praying and using heat.
My wife has developed the 72-hour rule for anything I complain about. She says if it gets worse in 3 days or doesn't go away, then we'll investigate it. Because a lot of the MS stuff that I have is fatigue related, stress related, time of day related. So if I say, hey, babe, I have the concrete shoes on today where I can't pick my feet up off the ground. She goes, okay, well, we know that is a symptom so let's see if it lasts for the next 3 days and then we'll call your neurology. Her. Oh yeah, she's
the calm one. That's how my husband is. I'm like and he's like, relax.
And she's got notes and receipts going back to the 1800s.
Okay, I'm like her on that.
I think everybody needs somebody like that.
Yes.
Even if it's their AI assistant, like if they don't have a human, we have technology now to do that kind of record keeping for you.
Yes.
It's just another tool. Terry and I are big on using all the tools that are available for us.
Not AI. I'm against AI.
Yeah, okay. All the artwork is 100% Terry. He hand draws everything.
Yes, in the dark.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, and so you guys, for your symptoms, you said your biggest one's fatigue. My biggest one is pain. What's your biggest symptom that you deal with, Terry?
My God, the first one I'm going to mention, I guess it's the weakness in my legs.
Okay.
I have that
neuropathic pain or
neuropathic
ear.
I have that, yeah, on my feet, you know what I mean? But I always ignore it because what can you do?
That was
I'm on drugs for it.
Me too. So I started, I'm on low-dose naltrexone. Have you heard of that? I bring that up in one of the podcast episodes I'm on.
Yeah.
It starts with a D?
It's LDN. So it's low-dose naltrexone, and that is something that I got on that was a huge game changer for my neuropathy. It was big change for me. So, and I talked about that in my episode because, again, this is not medical advice. So talk to your provider.
No. Yes, thank you.
But it was funny because when I got diagnosed, I put it in a reel just recently, but I was walking into a store and this man said to his wife, he's like, buy the hot tub, honey, life is short. And I looked at him and I had just been diagnosed and we just signed on a pool because, I was living like I was dying. And we wanted a pool forever. And I'm like, Tim McGraw was right. Live like you're dying. Let's build the pool. I'm dying. So I looked at him and I said, I agree. I just built a pool. I said, I was diagnosed with MS, and they stop. And the wife's like, I have MS. And I'm like, stop. And she's like, 3 letters will change your life, LDN. And this was 6 years ago. So I let it go in my ear. And then, I'd be complaining with pain. And my boss, who's A4M, functional medicine certified, like alternatives, he's like, you need to do LDN. I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And then a patient was like, you have to do LDN. And then at one time, my pain got really bad. And a patient came in. She's like, I've been telling you to get on naltrexone. All my patients are on it. I'm like, fine. So that day I started it, and I'm like, too many people are throwing this at me, but it really made a difference. So the studies show, like, for any autoimmune condition, it can help with fatigue and just overall the inflammatory burden. It does help a lot.
That's great. Is it burning of the feet?
Mine, it's weird. I get it on the front, the top of my right foot, and just the foot, and it just kind of feels like I notice it more when I stop. So like if I'm moving around, I don't notice it as much, but like if I'm grocery shopping and waiting for like meat to be cut or standing still, or laying in bed, kind of like diabetics will say they diabetic neuropathy bad at night when they're like stationary. And what's interesting too, I also notice it if I eat ice cream, which is my favorite food in the world, or alcohol will bring it on too. So it's very similar to like a diabetic neuropathy where it gets flared with, go figure, inflammatory foods. But yeah, and then my hands will just get very painful, like tingly, and then the arm as well. So
This is how I describe my pain. So that's steel wool on fire. That's what it looks like when you
Yep.
burn steel wool. And that's what my pain feels like.
fire.
Feels like tiny little
Yep.
fireflies all up and down my arm, leg, side of my face, whatever it tends to do that day.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, like burning.
My trigger symptom was I went blind in my left eye over
It's
here.
an optic neuritis.
Yep, straight out. And it's at the apex. So when I get really fatigued,
You can.
both eyes get wonky.
Wow. And another way I've described it too, like I feel like somebody has needles and they're just repeatedly poking my feet with needles, like a bunch of little men with needles, like drumming. And like that's when it gets really bad. It's like prickly, like a burning and a prickly. And it was, yeah, like sometimes I'll feel like something and I'm like, is that MS? And I'm like, oh no, I stepped on something sharp. Like sometimes I have to check.
I walk on Legos all day.
Yeah, we've been training for this. My kids leave them everywhere.
Someone turned me on to LDN, and then my neurologist was like, no. I'm like, okay.
So it's funny because a lot of healthcare providers, like yes or no, and a lot of them are open to it now. It is an alternative treatment. So we use it in medicine to get people off of opiates and alcohol at higher doses. So we use it in 50 milligrams for that indication. This is low doses, compounded anywhere from 1 milligram to usually 4.5.
Okay.
So it's very low dose.
Yeah, that is low. Maybe that's what it was, because when I had brought it up to him, he said, well, you don't have an opioid problem.
So it's compounded. So they're probably thinking of the FDA indication, which is
Okay.
naltrexone 50 milligrams. And that's how it comes. That's what it is. And that's all there is to it. But the other one is compounded at a compounding pharmacy.
Gotcha.
An alternative functional medicine. So the provider would have to be kind of into that.
Yeah, kind of realize that there's more to it than what the pharmacy
What we're
benefits
told in
manager
school.
tells you.
Yes.
So where can people find your podcast?
I am on, the podcast itself is on Spotify. It's under Miss Wired. It's MS Wired. So it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on YouTube. And then I have a Facebook and an Instagram as well.
Perfect. And where are you located if people are listening from your area so they can come and become one of your patients and receive your amazing
We
care?
are in West Palm Beach, and the research facility is Palm Beach Neurology. It's Premier Research Institute at Palm Beach Neurology. And then I also work, my predominant job is lifestyle medicine. So we have a virtual lifestyle practice as well.
I love it. I
So-
love all those things.
Yep.
Terry's going to link all that stuff to this show.
Okay.
So if anybody's listening, watching, they want to hear more, find out more, please go
Yep.
and support the community, boost those subscriber numbers for all the MS podcasters, because we need more people out here
Thank you
doing
guys for what you do too.
it. Thank you.
I'm glad we met.
Yeah, me too. And like Terry always says,
What's your visa number and your expiration date?
where he says, you're family now. We've met, we've chatted.
And we can borrow money if we need it.
Yes, come. You need to
Got
come
$5
get a cup of
bucks?
sugar. I'm closer than he is because you can make it to where I am faster.
And we don't have Tim Hortons here. We just have the K-Cups. Do you have
It's okay.
you have Starbucks there too, right?
Of course. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Of course.
You'll have to check in a year to see what my status is at Starbucks. We can tell how many bad days I've had.
Starbucks coffee is always strong coffee. I used
Yeah.
to go there and you get
It
the
is.
pike or
Yeah, the
the
caffeine
bold.
is a lot higher than like a K-Cup or
And I'm like, I
soda.
can't drink this coffee. I'm not an adult yet.
You can
And
get
they're
half
like, why
decaf.
don't you? They say get the blonde. Have you ever heard
The
of the
blonde
blonde?
roast. Yeah, I get the blonde roast.
And
Not
I'm
'cause
like, is that a
blonde.
thing? Like that
That's how
sounds
my hair
weird
is
to say.
blonde.
I know,
No,
but
it's
it
like a
sounds weird.
lighter roast, but I think lighter roasts have more caffeine.
Can I get the
read that
short
somewhere.
blonde?
Yeah.
Like it's just weird.
Like, sir, that's
Sorry.
not this kind of place. But yes.
Thanks for hanging out and chatting
Thank
with us
you.
today. We learned a lot. It's always good to
Thank
see
you.
a smiling MS warrior.
Yes. You
Because
guys too.
we need as much positivity as we can. So thanks very much.
My
We'll talk
pleasure.
soon.
Let me know if you guys need anything.
For sure.
Bye.
You too. We'll talk to you soon. So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4, the letter T, below0.com. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. And if you don't want to email us, no problem. We're on Instagram as @40belowzero. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk soon.